On this episode of the Flop Factor, the guys will be back in the studio once again and talk about that Trae Young trade that happened not too long ago. The Denver Nuggets still winning the Jaylen Brown MVP candidacy, Anthony Black's Dunk of the Year, the Clippers suddenly becoming a force to be reckoned with once again, and then they go on some miscellaneous routes the rest of the way. Don't go anywhere. The Flop Factor starts now. Hello and welcome to the return of the Flop Factor podcast. We're back from break. We had a nice little Christmas special episode that was me talking for 30 minutes with some guys at the end that were bringing their thoughts in. But the guys are back outside of RJ Rice. He cannot be with us here today. He
Rest
is
in peace.
at the ER, probably still because he injured his ankle playing basketball last night. He's questionable to return with a potential ankle sprain, probable ankle fracture. Who knows what happened to him, but I don't know. But we have Connor Roberts here for the first time.
Hi. It's a big moment for me. My first appearance was a voice memo that I sent Cody while I was in bed at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, but we also have the other guys, DJ McDermott, Brayden Laszlo. They've been here. Brayden's been here every time. DJ has some things to do every once in a while. Makes him hit and miss, but not his fault that he works some great shifts with ESPN+. But, hey, we're going to start talking about what went on first while we were gone. Trae Young is no longer an Atlanta Hawk. Our Atlanta Hawks have been spiraling out of control here recently. They were able to survive for a little bit, but they've started to plummet. They're now the 10 seed in the East, and they decided, you know what? Let's trade Trae Young. Let's trade Trae Young to the team he wants to go to, and that was the Wizards of Washington. And, you know, Trae Young was that guy in Atlanta for quite some time, but now he's going to be in Washington. Who knows if he's going to play this season? They may just rest him, regroup, raise that floor, raise that ceiling for next year's team. But Trae Young is a Wizard. Corey Kispert, on the other hand, and C.J. McCollum are both Atlanta Hawkers.
Yeah, I mean, I think this trade had to happen. I think ever since that 2021 Eastern Conference Finals run for Atlanta, that was kind of the apex of Trae Young on the Hawks, and that was a fun season for them. Obviously, they lose to Milwaukee. Milwaukee goes on to win the championship against Phoenix, but that run was very inspiring. I mean, Trae Young looked amazing in that playoff run, but ever since then, it just kind of felt like Atlanta was trying to get back to that point, trying to get over the hump, back into the NBA Finals, back into the Eastern Conference Finals. They just never could do it. And I think the Hawks kind of showed respect to Trae Young in this trade, trading him to a destination where he wanted to go. Obviously, we saw the introductory press conference, there we go, with Trae Young in Washington. It was kind of interesting to see. I know people are like, oh, why does Trae Young want to go to the Wizards? Most money that he can make is going to be made there in Washington. And he had all the right things to say about Washington. I don't know if he was really speaking the truth from his heart, but I don't know. I think the situation kind of worked out nicely for both sides.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Hawks kind of just needed a change of scenery. I think Jalen Johnson is a favorite on this podcast. We've talked about him plenty of times, and he has kind of stepped up as the leader or like the main guy on the Hawks this season. And it kind of sort of felt like even when Trae Young was healthy, he would come in for a couple games here and there, but it seemed like they got worse when Trae Young was on the court. It seemed like something was off. Nobody really knew what it was until all these trade rumors started coming out, and you thought it kind of would go down badly, but then like Brayden said, it looked like it went down fine on both sides. Trae Young had nothing but good things to say about his history on the Hawks, and the Hawks traded him to a destination that he wanted to go to. I remember we were all shocked when we heard that his preferred destination was the Washington Wizards. We were kind of confused by that, but I'm excited to see how this kind of pans out for the rest of the season. I don't see him playing this season. I don't think they should play him as long as he can kind of show some kind of future commitment towards the team and kind of hope that they do good in the draft next year with a very stacked draft class and then kind of come back stronger than ever. And I feel like Trae Young brings a very good veteran presence to this really young Washington Wizards squad. You have people You have a lot of young players, a very good young core with the Wizards that will take time to develop. But bringing in a veteran like Trae Young, who has that playoff experience and has that experience of being a leader on a team like the Atlanta Hawks, I feel like it's good for both sides, and I think a change of scenery was needed on both ends.
Yeah, and I really like this trade from the Wizards' perspective because, if there's any player that's going to bring out the full potential of Alex Sarr, it's going to be Trae Young because Trae Young has always had a good connection with the big men on his team. He's a great playmaker from the point guard position. Now, whether he plays this season or not doesn't really matter for the development of Alex Sarr because they're going to get those reps in practice. And he's also going to be able to help some of the guys out who have shooting struggles on the team with their shooting because Trae Young's always been one of the best shooters in the league. This trade for the Wizards makes a lot of sense. But the one thing that I'm interested in is if the Wizards do go ahead and try and re-sign Trae, give him that big contract, where does that leave the young guys on your roster that are now going from starters to backing up Trae Young?
Yeah, and one thing, I'm a massive fan of what the Wizards rebuild, what they're doing. I'll forever root for them just because Will Dawkins, their GM, Sam Presti disciple, and I feel like he knows what he's doing. He's a great basketball mind, and I just feel like Trae Young might be their Chris Paul. Trae Young could be this team's Chris Paul to help just lift that rebuild a little bit more, try to get those reps in with the younger guys. He could help Trey Johnson out a lot as well. But one thing I wanted to hit on is that the Atlanta Hawks this season with Trae Young, he played 10 games. The Atlanta Hawks went 2-8 in those games with Trae, and without Trae, they had a winning record of 18-15 so far this season. But it's just unfortunate how that ended up because Trae Young was the guy to bring Atlanta back to the playoffs. He was the guy that brought them all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. We all remember those series against the Knicks whenever he was just troll that New York crowd and MSG. But unfortunately, it had to end this way. Good for him to get a fresh start in a place that's looking to find that spark again in the city of Washington. But it's going to be fun to see how he looks with the Wizards and how the Hawks do the rest of the way with a new era of sorts starting in Atlanta. But moving on to our next topic, the Denver Nuggets. They were in a crosswords of roads, oh my goodness, of sorts, with injuries after injuries, and it's just Nikola Jokic went down with an injury. It looked like it would have been a bad injury, but he was able to get luck out, and he'll be back in just about a month and a half, or a little bit less than that. He'll be back in no time. But on top of that, they were already missing a lot of different key players. They were missing 6 starters, going all the way from the guys who were replacing those already starters and the guys who are already in that starting lineup. And they had to rely on guys such as Spencer Jones, my LinkedIn connection, who was able to get some spot starts here and there as a two-way contract player, and he is playing great. He started in 25 games this season. Shout out Spencer Jones. But Jamal Murray, I mean, he's been the star of the show. He's averaging 25.8 points per game, 7.5 assists. He's going to make his first All-Star game appearance this season. You have to expect, because this guy has just been phenomenal. Everything he's done, everything that he just breeds the sport so well. He's finally getting that well-deserved All-Star nomination eventually whenever they announce them. But it's going to be exciting to see how this Nuggets team looks, because even without Nikola Jokic, they've been able to survive. They've stayed afloat in this Western Conference. They're 6.5 games back of the Thunder for that 1 seed, and then they're tied 2-3 with the Spurs, both at 28-13 records. But both of these teams are looking really good. The Nuggets, I was a big fan of their offseason, and it clearly looks that this is some of the best bench, this is some of the best depth in general that Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets have had ever since Jokic has been this superstar.
Yeah, no doubt. I think having that depth going towards the playoffs, going towards All-Star break, is only going to help this team make a deeper run into the playoffs. And who knows? I mean, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that Jamal Murray has never made an All-Star game. It's just blasphemous. I think that he's the right-hand man to Nikola Jokic, one of the best bigs, if not the best big in the NBA. And I mean, this team is just so well-rounded. I think that you just have so many players coming out of the woodwork, and they find ways to win flat out. And in a Western Conference that it's basically dominated by OKC, but they've kind of shown some flaws this past month. I think that it's wide open more than ever now, and I think that if Denver really wants to stay afloat and have a shot at possibly winning that Western Conference, I don't think they can rush back these players from injury. I think that you just kind of have to ride out the depth. I know they're going with a little bit of a small ball look right now with Valanciunas and Jokic out right now. So I think that keep going forward, this depth is only going to pay off big dividends come playoff time.
Yeah, I agree. When I first saw all these injuries, kind of when the Jokic injury happened, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I thought it was going to be the Denver Jamal Murrays, and I think that's what it has been for a while. But you've had guys step up, and one player I really do want to highlight is Peyton Watson. I think Peyton Watson has played phenomenal. He has come off the bench, and he's just been a key piece for the Denver Nuggets as they've kind of been on this run. Their last 6 games, they're 5-6, and their only loss was a really bad loss to Atlanta. But other than that, they have wins over the Sixers, the Celtics, the Bucks, the Pelicans, and the Mavericks, and they were pretty well-rounded wins. And in terms of, I mean, Peyton Watson, I know I said that he's been doing really good, but I mean, he's averaging 13.8 points per game and 5 rebounds per game. But in his last 5 games, he's had 30, 25, 19, 31, and 18. So that's obviously a guy that they can look forward on stepping up more with these injuries out. And then once Nikola Jokic, Christian Braun, Jonas Valanciunas, and Cameron Johnson, once guys like that come back, you can see the Nuggets and their depth kind of showing out and kind of showing why they should be a top team in the West. And kind of like what Brayden said, the West is very top-heavy. You kind of have 4 or 5 teams up there, and I think the Nuggets are one of them. And this stretch has really proved it. I mean, you think that they would go down with the injuries, and they just haven't. They've kind of stood strong, and they've had people who you don't expect to step up. They do step up, and they've kind of filled those roles pretty phenomenally.
Yeah. Now moving on to the next one. I've been a massive fan of what the Nuggets have done, and I'm very excited to see what they'll go the rest of the way. But the Boston Celtics are another team in that Eastern Conference that they just feel like they're inevitable. There's something about the Celtics, or something about there's always a West Virginia connection. Head coach Joe Mazzulla with this team, and they just feels like no matter what happens, no matter what happens to this team, no matter how many injuries, no matter how many trades, they'll still be competitive. And they are currently second in the East at 25-15. They just beat Miami 119-114. And despite having no Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown looks like an MVP candidate. I mean, there's no arguments against that. He's doing everything for his team. He's averaging 29.4 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 4.9 assists, stealing getting 1 steal a game, 49% from the field, 37% from three-point range. He's done everything and then some of what he was asked to do going into this season. And people were people were very confused. I was one of them. We didn't know how a first option Jaylen Brown would look like. It's never been the case his entire NBA career. He always had issues with his left hand. If his left hand was trustable, but I mean, he's that guy on offense. You have Derek White, who's a great offensive player. He's a good playmaker, better on defense though. Peyton Pritchard's a great scorer. Anthony Simons is solid off the bench whenever he scores points at will sometimes. I'm a big fan of Jordan Walsh as well, the garbage man, as he is called. But Jaylen Brown has been able to lift this Celtics team, and they're right back in the finals contention. This team can make the NBA Finals, and at that point, who knows, Jason Tatum may be back. This Celtics team is a contender once again, and it's all because of the coaching of Joe Mazzulla. He's done a great job once again, and an MVP candidate once again in Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you said about Joe Mazzulla. I think that it comes down to coaching when you're facing adversity with either injuries or trades. But got to give credit where credit's due. Jaylen Brown has been absolutely electric this season. I mean, even in the last 5 games for the Celtics, they're 3-2 with the only 2 losses coming to San Antonio and Denver, both by single digits. I mean, he's performing at an all-time clip right now. I do think that he should be at the top of those MVP conversations. Obviously, you got guys like Shai Gilgeous, you got Jokic, obviously, when he's healthy, but Jaylen Brown has definitely been proving himself that he can be a number one option. And I found it interesting last night. We saw Jason Tatum after the game, and you could kind of read the lips a little bit. He's like, I'm ready. And after he went down with that Achilles tear, we got news that it would be 8 to 9 months after that he could return. It's been 8 months. So we should be inching closer to the return of Jason Tatum, and that is dangerous for the NBA, especially with the Celtics performing at the clip they are right now.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, Jaylen Brown playing the best basketball of his career, and probably, I'd say in the next month and a half, we could see Jason Tatum ramping back up and maybe getting some G League assignments and coming back in. But in terms of, obviously we're all shocked by the Celtics, but I remember preseason when we did our Eastern Conference standings, we basically had the Knicks and the Cavs at like the top of the East, and then everybody else was kind of mishmash and everything like that. I mean, you had teams like the Celtics and the Pistons putting themselves up there and kind of making a statement. But one player I do want to shout out for the Boston Celtics has been Anthony Simons. I mean, he's been phenomenal. I think he should be a Sixth Man of the Year candidate. He hasn't started any games this year, but he's averaging 14 points off the bench with 2.4 rebounds and 2.6 assists. I think he should be up there for Sixth Man of the Year. I don't think he should win it because I think Keldon Johnson is the Sixth Man of the Year right now. But I feel like he has been a very important piece, and I think that was one of the questions, was how good would this bench be because of all the departures that they had in the offseason. You had Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis. So it was important for the Celtics to have guys like Peyton Pritchard, like Derek White, like Anthony Simons, and like Jaylen Brown to step up and kind of establish that core for the Celtics that you're going to need to have this year without Jason Tatum. And they've done just that, and I think that they've done phenomenal. I think that it's only going to get better when Tatum comes back.
Yeah, and I think the Celtics are always going to be that team that sort of outperforms what their expectations are. One guy I kind of want to take a look at is Luka Garza, who ever since stepping into that six-man starter role has been a very consistent performer. He was coming out of college and everybody's like, oh, he's slow-footed. All he can do is sort of shoot, but how is that going to translate to the NBA? Before this season, it didn't translate at all. Now that he's in Boston, he's shooting 50% from three this season, and he's been averaging around 9.5 points over their past 10 games ever since he's become a starter. Now, the Celtics, they do have the occasional tough loss like most teams in the NBA do, and in those games are the games where Garza struggles and Keita struggles. So replacing Kristaps and Al Horford has been a little bit of a struggle, but their center-by-committee approach has worked this season, and that's something that not a lot of teams can say has worked in the past.
Yeah, Namis Keita's been great as well. I'm a big Namis Keita fan, and it's just whoever they throw into that center position, I think it's not like Al Horford's been that great with the Warriors this season. It has to think like maybe just the center, the way that Joe Mazzulla runs his offensive system, his defensive systems, just makes that center position a lot easier with how he runs through the guards, runs through the pick and roll, and then gets a lot of easy looks at the rim, at the three-point line. For these centers, I mean, Xavier Tillman's been solid throughout his Celtics tenure whenever he actually gets on the floor, hit and miss. I'm a big Amari Williams fan as well. He's not played much this season, but I feel like he has a lot of potential behind him. But Anthony Black, last night, had one of the craziest dunks I've ever seen in my life. Probably the dunk of the year. I'd assume it will be the dunk of the year. 4 guys in the paint, 4 Grizzlies in the paint, in Germany, all in their head, just in transition. It was a Euro step, just rise up, right-handed tomahawk jam, and it's just like, my goodness. And it makes you think, he's 6'7", 200 pounds, dunking like that, and he's one of my favorite guards in the NBA. He's having one of those underrated type of breakout seasons. He's been great in the midst of a lot of injuries that he's been dealing with throughout this time. Now they're playing in London now. The London games also. Magic Grizzlies, they're just touring Europe, I guess. But Anthony Black, 15.8 points, 4.1 rebounds, 4 assists, 46.7% from the floor. And he's shooting 35.9% from three. He's doing everything you ask him for. He was drafted for his defense. He's a great defensive player. But that offense is coming around, and you're just looking like this is probably the guard of the future for this team at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Anthony Black pick when he was picked by the Magic a couple years ago. I think that his development on the offensive side, as you mentioned, Cody, has just been another element to this Magic offense. Obviously, you got Paulo Banchero, you got Wendell Carter, who's kind of holding it down in the paint. You add Desmond Bane, who's, I mean, not really been the best addition so far, but just having that shooting ability on the court as well. And you got the Wagner twins. I mean, this team is well-rounded. This team can defend. This team can shoot. And it's going to be interesting to see how they close out the season down the stretch, and especially in this back half of the season.
Yeah, just seeing that dunk yesterday, seeing not even the video was impressive, but some of the photographs of like certain angles, you literally see 4 or 5 Grizzlies jerseys on that side of the court and 1 Magic jersey, and it's Anthony Black going to the rim. It's kind of crazy that you don't see any other Magic player in sight, and it's literally just a 1v4. I mean, it was crazy to watch. You saw the crowd react, and you saw the Magic bench react. I think Morris Wagner was very, very hyped up on the bench. And in terms of this Magic team, I agree. They've hit their strides at some points, but they've also hit some roadblocks. But I think that the return of Franz Wagner is going to be very crucial for this team. I feel like he was a staple right next to Paulo Banchero last year, and I think he's going to be a staple again this year. And he also needs to return because he's on my fantasy basketball lineup, so I would like some points out of that. I'm playing Cody this week, so if he can kind of step it up this week, that'd be perfect timing. But in terms of just the Magic in all, I feel like if they're healthy and they kind of hit their stride, like I said, they're going to be back, and they're going to be one of the top teams in the East, I think.
Yeah, and the Magic are a team that nobody in the league wants to play just due to the sheer amount of good defenders they have. Like this Suggs Black backcourt that you can run in the rotation. I mean, you can even throw Bane in there and have Black run the 3, and that's almost impossible to score on, especially with Carter holding down the paint. Paolo's kind of become a better defender this year because his offense is struggling a lot more than usual. That's the problem with the Magic, is that there's nights where the offense is just unbearable to watch. Like I'm not going to hold back. It's brutal to watch this offense in stretches. But that's what happens when you have a young team who really all the players you've drafted for their defense. Suggs and Black are the first 2 that come to mind. Paolo you drafted for his offense. The offense hasn't developed. Franz has been much better than you ever could have expected. That's kind of your go-to guy. And with him being out, without your go-to guy, you're going to struggle a little bit. But once he comes back, I think he's going to open the game up. And I think that's going to allow Bane to kind of step into the role that he was brought in to play for the Magic and kind of open his game, let him shoot better, allow Paolo to have more space in the spots that he wants to get to. And I think the Magic are going to be a really dangerous team come playoff time.
Yeah, definitely. And whenever Franz was playing, Desmond Bane was shooting so much better from 3. But in this last 10 games, yeah, he's shooting 46% from the floor, 19.2 points per game. But he's shooting 27% from 3 because you're forcing Desmond Bane to do the one thing that Desmond Bane can't do, create his own three-point look. And that's been the main issue of the Orlando Magic throughout this time. They got in KCP, told him, hey, man, create for yourself. That didn't work. They decided to upgrade with Desmond Bane, and like he can at least create his own mid-range shot. He can create his own layups, but he can't shoot threes off the dribble at that high of a rate. But whenever he was playing with Franz, he was shooting so much better. And I was so happy to see that Franz was able to come back for that Berlin game to play in his home country, but he looked pretty solid. He didn't shoot the best from the floor, but in just 27 minutes, scored 18 points, had 9 rebounds. It's just as much as you want from someone that's coming off an injury on a minutes restriction, but it's going to be great to see him back. And he would have definitely been an all-star this season if he did not get injured. Injuries have just been the one thing that's really held him back so far in his career. But moving on, we're going to go to another team topic, the Clippers. We've talked a lot about the Los Angeles Clippers on this podcast, mostly on how bad they've been. But ever since we've gone on a break, this team's become the hottest team in the NBA. They've rallied all the way up. They're almost into the play-in in the Western Conference. They're 17-23, 11th in the West, just a little bit behind the Grizzlies and Trailblazers for that 9 and 10 spot. but Tyronn Lue's got them going again, and it's been mainly because of one guy. One guy's decided to turn back the clock. One guy's decided, you know what, I'm going to play better than I've ever done before in the offensive end. And Kawhi Leonard is scoring more than he at a higher level than he ever has before, especially during this one stretch. He scored his career high. His career high in points. He scored 53 points in his age 34 season. James Harden's still good. James Harden will always be good. He has the type of game that will never age. But Kawhi Leonard, going through all the stuff that he's been through, he's suddenly right back in that MVP shape. He's actually currently dealing with a ankle injury that he's just been playing through the past couple weeks. I've been getting day-to-day notifications of fantasy basketball for at least 2 weeks now, but he's averaging 28 points per game, shooting 94% from the line, 2 points, 2 steals per game. He leads the league in that category, and steals per game. They're currently tied, I believe, with Cason Wallace at 2.2 steals per game, but everything Kawhi has done this season has just really shocked me. I mean, not really shocked. It's just made me happy that guys that we grew up with watching are still playing at this high of a level throughout at the later half of his careers. But, yeah, Spurs legend Kawhi Leonard, Raptors legend, and even in that one season. It's been up and down with the Clippers, but he's trying to save some stuff right now. But the Clippers, they're on fire. James Harden looking great. Kawhi's looking great. Zubac's looking great. The rest of the team's been very up and down, but whenever you have that three going like they have, it makes sense why they've been so hot as of late.
Yeah, I mean, what I find absolutely ridiculous, the last time Kawhi Leonard scored below 20 points in a game was NBA Cup group play on November 25th against the Lakers. Since then, I mean, his scoring has just absolutely exploded. I mean, it's hard to put into words, really, because I was under the impression, like, in the past couple of seasons, Kawhi, load management, not really going to play much. You don't really know what you're going to get out of Kawhi. And he's just turned all of my doubt away with these performances these past month and a half, really. It's just been super awesome to see. I mean, Kawhi Leonard is a world-class scorer. It's just very impressive to see. And the Clippers, not only are they obviously want to go to the play-in, go to the playoffs, but they're playing because the Oklahoma City Thunder have their pick, and it wasn't looking good. I mean, the league was definitely
nobody wants to see the Thunder have a top 5 pick.
Definitely not. And I think Kawhi Leonard is doing God's work right now by doing this with the Clippers so far.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There was a time where like the Thunder were like 20-1 or something like that, and it was basically they had opposite records basically.
Yeah.
It was like 20-1, and they were the Clippers were like 5-15. I don't know. It was really bad. It was a really bad look. You had one of the best teams in the NBA, and then they had one of the worst teams picks. It was really bad, but like you said, Cody, Spurs legend Kawhi Leonard. I've always rooted for him. I was rooting for him in the finals when he won with the Raptors, and I've rooted for him on the Clippers ever since he's been on the Clippers. Regardless of what the Clippers organization has done, that has made me mad. But it's kind of weird because James Harden had that stretch earlier in the season where he was popping off. He was scoring 30 points a game, it seemed like, and he was kind of back to his old Rocket self. The only difference is the Clippers weren't winning those games.
Yeah, Kawhi was out for most of those games as well.
And so it's kind of my whole point in saying that is having Kawhi Leonard be this leading scorer, you have James Harden leading the team with 8 assists per game. I feel like that is much better if you have Harden being your leading scorer and leading guy, kind of like what we were talking about with Desmond Bane, kind of succeeding off of Franz Wagner. I think that's the same thing, James Harden succeeding off of Kawhi Leonard. I think those are two very comparable duos, if you were to say that, but Kawhi Leonard has been popping off, and I saw a graphic the other day, and it was on December 20th when the Clippers had a 6-21 record. Ty Lue in their post-game press conference went, "Our main goal is to try to be 35-20 for the rest of the season." And since that point on, they have played 13 games, and they have went 11-2, with their only losses being to the Celtics and the Knicks. That's a pretty good track record, if you ask me. I mean, they have played some soft teams, but they have had key wins like the Pistons, the Pistons twice, actually, and the Trailblazers, and then kind of just other teams that are kind of looking. Houston Rockets, Los Angeles Lakers, but this Clippers team has definitely opened the eyes for a lot of NBA watchers that don't want the Thunder to have a top 5 or even a lottery pick at that point.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey. Currently mocked at 11, taking Hane Steinbach. I'd be fine with that.
Right now they're on track. Right now they're on track to be 22-4 in their next 13 games. So,
yeah, I think there's some unsung heroes on this Clippers team. You've got Chris Dunn, always relentless pressure on the ball handler, starting nearly every game. John Collins has been surprisingly efficient this year. He's not known for being an efficient scorer, except for his sophomore season when he had Trae Young as his point guard. That was his most efficient year, his highest scoring output. John Collins has been really efficient, bringing in 13 points per game for the Clippers. But I think, the guard play on the perimeter, even Kobe Sanders out there, I mean, it's just relentless pressure on the ball handlers. They may not have the offensive stats, but relentless pressure, and then that defense just forcing them into the paint where Zubac just cleans everything up. You can't ask for a better defensive structure. And Ty Lue's not normally known for being a great defensive system coach. He's known for having these high-volume offenses and just kind of letting his players go one-on-one. This season, he's just been absolutely amazing with his defensive setup.
Yeah, definitely. And, from top to bottom, this team has a lot of quality guys. I'm a big Chris Dunn fan. I always have been. I was always just like a fan of like the Chris Dunn breakout finally happening, and it finally happened. I mean, it's not like he was the star he was drafted to be. I believe in the top 5, was it? It was.
T-Wolves.
5th overall pick, 2016.
Providence.
And but he's turned out to be a really quality guard on that defensive end of the floor, and very excited to see. I've been very excited to see him starting games again the past couple of seasons with the Clippers. But moving forward, we're going to go to my favorite segment. It's the return of the Rookie Roundtable, where we pick one rookie we like, and just explain why we like that rookie. It's so fun. But let's start.
I mean, I pick this guy almost every time. Knippel, man. I mean, he's been so good, and he's always at the number 1 of the point leaders. And I think just the ability to score at that level, obviously I know he plays for the Charlotte Hornets, but, I mean, you're still dealing with guys like Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball. You got some scorers there in Charlotte. And adding a guy like Knippel, who also impacts the game in more ways than one. He's averaging 5 rebounds, 3 assists as well. He's almost averaging a steal as well. So the defense is there. The offense is definitely there. He's leading this rookie class with his former college teammate Cooper Flagg not far behind. But I just think that Knippel so far in this season has just been really, really impressive.
I'm gonna go for like a 2-for-1 right now. I'm gonna go with a team that really hasn't been good this year, but I feel like their draft picks were pretty well done. I'm going to go with the Pelicans, Jeremiah Fears, and Derek Queen. I feel like both of them have been pretty solid to start off the season, especially Derek Queen. He reminds me a lot of the way that Nikola Jokic plays. He hasn't got as many minutes, and he's not that main guy on the Pelicans yet, but he's averaging 12.8 points per game and 7.5 rebounds, along with 4 assists per game. So give him more minutes, give him time to develop, and I can see him having a very similar play style to Nikola Jokic. And you're talking about rookies that can score. I think Jeremiah Fears is going to be – it will eventually be a leading scorer for the Pelicans. Right now, he's averaging 14.2 points per game along with 4 rebounds and 3 assists. I think both those guys, even though the Pelicans have not had a successful season and they are putting a lot of people on untouchables lists, which is kind of outrageous when you're 10-33. But if you're keeping guys like Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen on your roster and you want to develop them and give them a couple years time, I feel like these two guys will be main staples for the Pelicans. But those are 2 rookies that have really stood out to me so far.
I'm going with a little bit of an abnormal pick. I'm going with a guy who spent some time in the G League, spent some time overseas, Ethan Thompson, who's bounced around the league for a little bit. He's currently fallen out of the rotation with the Pacers, but when he was in the rotation, he was kind of that 6'5" guard that can play small forward, can switch on to power forwards and potentially even a center because he's got an abnormally long wingspan. That's why they call him ET. It's his initials, but it fits. He's great defensively. His offensive game is still raw, but he can kind of do it all on the court. And if he was on a team that wasn't intentionally trying to lose games, he would be a very solid role player for a team like the Magic, who love their long wingspan guys who play defense and are gritty down in the paint, try to get to their spots in the mid-range. Ethan Thompson has solidified himself as an NBA player, but he's still just a little bit raw at the age of 26, so teams may not want to take a swing on a guy like that, but he can definitely contribute to a team in critical situations.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a guy who had a big season at Stanford last year, was looking really great, was drafted 42nd overall in the draft. I remember whenever I was looking into this draft, I did an article on like the best players available in the starting the second round, and this guy was number 1 on my list, Maxime Reynaud. He was such a quality player at Stanford. I loved his game at Stanford, and he's continued that in the NBA. He's looked fantastic for a struggling but very young and very raw Sacramento Kings team outside, the top 4 guys all being like above the age of 35. But like, hey,
Sabonis is there, man. He's coming back tonight.
He's back?
He's coming back tonight.
Oh, wow.
That's great. But Maxime Reynaud has been, especially in the absence of Domantas Sabonis, he's been a guy who's been fantastic. He started 19 games. All of those have been in the absence of Domantas Sabonis. But he's been able to put up points, 10.5 points per game, 6.4 rebounds. He's a big-time player in that low pick and roll, low post type of passer. I feel like those assist numbers can start to climb up a bit if you put a little bit more shooting around them. Maybe Malik Monk can start knocking down those shots again. But whenever you see this guy, you just think polished player, 22 years old, polished already, has a lot more to grow into, really tall player as well, really strong in that painted area. But I'm very excited to see where his career takes him. And 23.6 minutes per game, he's looked great, and I was a big fan of him at Stanford, and I'm a big fan of him once again in the NBA. Now, me and DJ, obviously local Thunder fan, local Spurs fan, but there's been a lot going on between these two teams in this NBA season. The best of the best in the Western Conference so far in the NBA season. And the Spurs had the Thunder's number. They won the first 3 games, first 3 matchups. Thunder stormed back, finally picked up a win in this week, actually. But one thing's certain, Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Thunder, that's going to be a budding rivalry for years to come. I'm very excited to see where that goes, and I'm very excited to see how this Western Conference is always the Thunder and Spurs. You just think, back whenever it was Russ and KD on the Thunder, and you had Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, all those guys on the Spurs. Big-time rivalry once again. They always end up playing each other in the playoffs. And it's once again, you will not be shocked if you see these two teams, hopefully not in the semifinals. I'd love to see this as a Western Conference Finals matchup down the road. I'm not sure if Spurs can make that Western Conference Finals run just yet. Maybe if they get another year down their belt, you could really see it happening. But since I've always felt like this is a Spurs like 23-24 Thunder year, and then the next year is whenever they really blow up and have that playoff run. But I don't know. Every single thing the Spurs team does, I'm just like, maybe not. Maybe this team is already ready. Maybe Victor Wembanyama is playing like that guy. And I'll let DJ talk a little bit about this team.
Yeah, I love watching this. This is the first time I've enjoyed watching Spurs basketball in the past couple years, like on a consistent basis, not just one game here, one game there. And I feel like there's sometimes that this team can kind of get off track. I mean, you have it's kind of like this most recent stretch. You have wins against New York and Indiana, but then you lose games to Portland and Memphis. You have really key wins against the Lakers and the Celtics, but then you lose really, really, really tough games to the Timberwolves and the Thunder. Last night they came back, and you have bald Wemby and bald Keldon Johnson coming back and making a new look, and they get a very key win, 119-101 win against the Bucks. And, I mean, it's just I feel like this team can compete. I just feel like I'm really scared to once we get to the playoffs, I'm really scared to face experienced teams like the Thunder, like the Nuggets, like the Timberwolves. Those are 3 teams that have been staples in the West for the past couple years, and you've seen them in the Western Conference Finals. You've seen them compete for 7-game series against each other, and it's just the Spurs haven't been there for the past 4 or 5 years. So I feel like right now it's fine. You're getting your young guys a lot of minutes. You're getting your young guys a lot of experience, and I feel like once playoff time comes, there's a lot of questions to be answered. But in terms of now, I feel like Victor and Stephon Castle could both be all-stars when the ballots come in. I feel like Castle has taken a step up in terms of his play. I feel like his shooting was something that needed to be worked on. He has really worked on it, and he's been spectacular this season, averaging 17, 4, and 5. And Wemby, right now it's really just the injuries. And I feel like one of the craziest things is Wemby coming off the bench. That was like a theme for a while, and him coming off the bench, they have a phenomenal record when he comes off the bench. He'll still end up playing 28, 30 minutes a game, but he'll sit out for those first 6 minutes, and all of a sudden he comes on the court, and it's an immediate impact, which is what you want out of a player like Wemby. But in terms of this team, I'm excited to see what the Thunder and Spurs rivalry have in store. Obviously, we have your number 3-1. You guys got that win the other night, but it's all right. We still won on Christmas. That's all that matters. And but this is the first time I've been excited for a Spurs team past in January. Honestly, I'd be happy in October when the season starts, but once the first 20, 30 games go by, I'm just like, another year. But now it's legit. Now it's finally we're getting players in, so I'm excited about Spurs basketball for the first time in a while.
Julian Champagne's been something.
Dude, how about that? Yeah, I think what was the one game he had 11? I think it was like 10 or 11 3-pointers.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite genres of player because he just chucks threes the entire time and plays defense.
You have so many legendary 3-point shooters on the Spurs franchise, and he set the single game Spurs franchise record for 3-pointers made in a game. I remember seeing. I didn't even watch that game, but I think that might have been against
the Knicks.
That's what it was. Yep.
I'm pretty sure in MSG or something like that. But
yeah,
the Spurs are a great team, and I think one thing I've noticed is there was that on the Thunder side of things. There was a lot of just turmoil in that middle, like right whenever the new year came, whenever New Year turnover, 6-6 in that 12-game stretch. 5 wins since though. I've been really excited to see how much adjustments have been made ever since that stretch. And one thing I can start with in that 5-game win streak, AJ Mitchell has been phenomenal. 16 points per game. Where do I begin? This guy only played 30 or 40 games. 40 games exactly of regular season basketball last season. And now he's came in. He's already a 6 Man of the Year candidate. Won't win it, but he is potentially a top 3 candidate for that award, currently averaging 14 points per game, 3.6 assists, 1.4 steals. But he had 16 points against the Jazz, 23-6 in that game where they came back down 20 against the Grizzlies, 16-4 against the Heat. He had 11-6-4 against the Spurs, and then last night against the Rockets had 17-5-3, and that was a close game in that fourth quarter. And then boom, AJ Mitchell comes in, 9 points in the fourth, blowout against the Rockets. But this guy's been so big for this Thunder team, and I just wanted to find a time to talk about that guy. Now for the last part of the episode. My favorite part, the pick'ems. So fun. Monday is a big day in both American history and in the NBA schedule. They always schedule games on MLK Day. It's a great day to honor Martin Luther King Jr., but we're going to pick some games. There's 4 nationally televised games, either on NBC or Peacock, starting on the exclusively on Peacock game of the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, this game could go either way, honestly, but I'm going to go with Jalen Johnson and the Atlanta Hawks. I just think this team at home is really, really hard to beat. I know they got a losing record, but Jalen Johnson has been really, really impressive.
Yeah, I think this game's in Atlanta, and like I said before, the Hawks do better without Trae Young, and they're still kind of This is the first couple games after Trae Young, so I'm going to take the Atlanta Hawks. And another reason why I'm taking them is because there's been a lot of drama with Milwaukee in the past couple days. Fans booing them. Thank God it's not at Milwaukee, or else you'd have it actually be detrimental to the Bucks. So I'm going to take the Hawks here. I think Giannis has a good game, but it's just Bucks are on a downward spiral right now.
Yeah, I'm going with the Hawks. Miles Turner's been doo-doo poopy water this year. Giannis has no help. The Bucks suck. The Bucks will never win anything again. And the Hawks have Jalen Johnson, and that's all you need.
Yeah. Sometimes I just remember, oh wait, Miles Turner is on the Bucks now, because I have not heard a peep about him ever since he left Indiana.
Chapter, and it looks like he closed all of his basketball playing
He
ability.
won't, and he's not opening it back up anytime soon.
Give me Jalen Johnson. Give me Nickeil Alexander-Walker, two of my favorite players in the NBA to watch, and the Atlanta Hawks. Now moving on, NBC basketball, always fun to see. OKC Thunder will be in Cleveland taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I mean, I think the most obvious pick here is the Oklahoma City Thunder, but I'm not going to do that. Give me the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. Give me Donovan Mitchell, 30-plus points. Let's go Cavs.
You know what, Brayden? I love that pick. And you know what? I love the Cavs, too. It's in Cleveland. I'm taking the Cavs, too. I feel like the Thunder have been a little too good recently. I think the Spurs got in their head a bit. I feel like they're going to what did Shea say after the game? Shea did like a little subtle knock towards the Spurs
Wasn't our
after
Super
the
Bowl?
game. Yeah. But so Cleveland's going to come in and they're going to show them the business.
This is our Super Bowl.
I was about to say, yeah, the Cavs are winning the Super Bowl. The Cavs are winning the Super Bowl on Monday.
Can I pick for this game to get like delayed or something? I don't want to be like on record picking either one of these teams.
Say rain delay.
Yeah, the court's gonna have.
Oh yeah, whatever
whatever
Hawks
happened in
heat.
Chicago.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
There's gonna be
even
condensation
though there's
on the
not
court.
a hockey team in Rocket Arena.
Give me the Cavs. I like their court. Their court looks cool sometimes. I mean, I like Donovan Mitchell.
Depends on what jerseys they're wearing, honestly.
True. I do like Donovan Mitchell. I'm a big fan of his game. Honestly, I think this might low-key be a big Jared Allen performance. Like, he might show up in this game. He's been kind of up and down all season, which isn't normal for Jared Allen. Usually he's giving you his consistent, like, 15 and 10, but I feel like this might be the game that kind of gets him going for the rest of the season.
Well, I guess I'm the lone wolf here going with the Thunder. Make it 6. I feel like Shea will have a solid game. He tends to do good against the Cavs, and the rest of the team will step up as well. But moving on, 5 p.m., this is a interesting one. Dallas Mavericks take on the New York Knicks.
I'm going to go Knicks here. I think that this team plays so much better at home, 16-4 on the year. I mean, Jalen Brunson playing up to the caliber of player we know that he is, and I think that continues here against Dallas.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that's been going good for Dallas right now has been Cooper Flagg. He's showed out and showed why he's been the number one pick. Anthony Davis is out, unsurprisingly, like usual, has another injury with his hand. D'Angelo Russell's not even getting minutes anymore. He hasn't played a minute in the last 8 games, I think it was. Yeah, give me the Knicks all the way. Not even close.
Yeah, you'll never catch me dead saying anything good about the Knicks. So Daniel Gafford masterclass, Mavericks by 40.
Wow.
Give me 21 points from Brandon Williams in this one. He's such a talented young guard. Well, kind of young guard. He's been bouncing around the league a bit, and I'm a big fan of his game. I don't understand how he was in the G League for 2 years after he had such a great rookie season with Portland. But hey, Brandon Williams, big-time game, Mavericks win. Moving on, against it's 8 p.m., another Eastern Conference matchup. There's been a lot of Eastern Conference matchups for this one, but it's Boston Celtics, Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. 1 and 2 in the East. I think that, it's going to be really, really, I don't know. This game is very hard to pick. I think you got two teams that are playing kind of different styles of basketball. Detroit at home has only lost 4 games all season, just like the New York Knicks. But I'm going to go with the Celtics here. I think Jaylen Brown wills the Celtics team over the Pistons, and he continues to show out.
Yeah, even though the Pistons are the 1 seed, I feel like I've heard more about a ton of Eastern Conference teams that aren't the Pistons. I haven't heard a lot, but I know that Cade Cunningham is performing well. This game's in Detroit. I'm going to take the Pistons here. I feel like Boston has been on a good stretch. They've lost a couple of their last games, but we've talked about how consistent they've been and how they've had people step up. But I will take the Pistons here, strictly for the fact that it's in Detroit. I feel like this will be a good game down to the wire. It'll come down to some unnecessary fouls within the last minute, I think. But I can see the Pistons coming out with this one.
Yeah, and when these two teams get together, there's always some chaos that happens, whether it's Cade absolutely missing a game-winning shot or absolutely drilling a half-court shot. There's always something that happens in these games. I think both of these teams are going to come into this with like a chip on their shoulder. I think this one might be a little bit of a shootout between these two teams. The Celtics, they're not the greatest defensive team in the world, and the Pistons are definitely the top 3 defensive teams in the world. But I think Detroit's going to come into this and try and score, and Boston's going to be able to match them bucket for bucket down late into the fourth quarter. And I think Detroit just has enough defense to be able to get a couple stops and pull away with it late.
Yeah, I feel like Pistons can take this one home in overtime. I'm going with the home dogs. I feel like it would make more sense for them to win at home, but give me a pretty big Cade day. Yeah, I just, in my mind, I'll forever having that picture of him missing those 2 free throws. But hey, give me a big Cade Cunningham day.
Can I give a quick shout out to my future All-Star pick, Jalen Duran? That's another reason why I think he's going to have a dominant game. We were talking about the center rotation for the Celtics, but I think Jalen Duran's going to be too much.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big Kada game because Garza's not going to be able to guard Duran.
Yeah.
That's Duran, future All-Star. Legacy games
He's
on Monday.
so good, too.
Yeah.
That's my pick.
Those 2022 centers have playing really good this season. But that will do it for this episode of the Flop Factor. Thank you guys for sticking with us the rest of the way for this one. Thanks for listening. As always, you can listen to the Flop Factor on all streaming platforms. That includes, and is not limited to, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and many others. Many others more. Also on the flopfactor.transistor.fm. That's the website. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back next week. But, as always, the Flop Factor ends now.